Right, it's April 21st at 6:36. This is the Police Planning Committee. And we are gathering to plan our attack for the final report to council on our work on the information that we gathered. Since a decision has been made already for the most part, the document is meant, I think, to be educational so that future councils don't have to start from scratch on this work and can understand the legal implications, what our current state police force size and cost is, and what we were projecting growth to be in the coming years, and the other factors that we considered. So before we go into the proposed chapters and how we might want to draft it, just want to go back to, the last council meeting where the vote was taken and see if there are any questions or commentary on that.
Did they include the state police in that, or was it just the municipalities? Because as I see it, after they close that door, right, there are two options left. One is continue with the current police force, which they're obviously going to have to raise taxes in some form to pay for, given some of the financial projections. And two, was the state police, which would add zero cost, which would be zero cost to us.
My understanding is that all considerations of
Outsourcing in general?
outsourcing to any entity that we are no longer an independent force has been closed. That door has been
So we're not really making a recommendation, we're just going to package up our research and send it to them?
correct.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions?
I assume the document should be entirely factual,
Yes.
by which I mean devoid of opinion. It should just be what we found, just the facts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Insofar as we can do that, I think we can, though. So in my email, I had proposed, and I apologize, I sent a link just to chapter 2, but if you go to the parent folder on the OneDrive, and the name of it, if I can read with the glare, within the Police Planning Committee is Final Report Drafts. I have introduction, and then chapter 1 and chapter 2 draft to just give a flavor of what I think would be what council's looking for. So chapter 1 is current state of the Yardley Borough Police Force, going over the 24/7 coverage model, the staffing levels, how many full-timers, part-timers, APOs, police intern, and calls for service annual, parking tickets annual, giving those numbers so we know. Entry salary as compared to surrounding municipalities, because we go through kind of the pressures on our part-timers and the need for competitive pay there. So that was pulled from information. Some of it's not filled in yet, so will need to be filled in by Corporal Clark, but pulled from information gathered by Kim and myself. And then chapter 2 is comparative analysis of Bucks County municipal policing models, and that's predominantly from the PowerPoint that Rich Wayne did at the end of last year, about EIT, property tax, and independent police force, or EIT and regional, or property tax only with an independent, and the breakdown of percentages there, and some discussion on funding models and policing models. And then I'm proposing from there, and this is all open to input, we go into our financial analysis that Rami did in chapter 3, and then chapter 4, public input that's not representative, but kind of trying to summarize public comments that were received that brought up new points of view, and as well as some of the narrative survey responses that we received. Chapter 5, I'm actually thinking now we would break this into 2. Chapter 5 would be the state policing proposal and our understanding of what that was. Chapter 6, outsourcing proposals. So I think we should put in it the questions that we sent to all the municipalities, as well as any verbal or written responses that we received.
I can do that chapter since I did a lot of that.
Awesome. Both of them, chapter 5, state police, and chapter 6, I'm breaking them apart now. The outsourcing proposals, and then the final substantive chapter would be going into the legal advice and unionized labor discussions that we had insofar that we can share them. And I think Curtin and Hefner is aware that our goal is to put something out in the public, so they will be working with us to put together legal advice that we can put out into the world. And then just a conclusion of, without making a recommendation, I don't even know if it needs to have a conclusion, but that's how I had mapped it out. Am I missing anything? Is there anything that we feel like should be put in a different order?
Minor point, but the financial analysis probably should be dated as of when we did it, because that was nearly 6 months ago, huh? Yeah. And there may be other things that need to be dated as of
Yep.
when the information was actually obtained.
Is it also all right if I close the loop for all the people I reached out to just to say, hey, council has decided not to pursue this matter further? Is that all right? Okay.
Please, thank
I'll
you.
CC you and council president.
Thank you. Date when. And not, obviously we're doing this for our own municipality, but I know that other municipalities very close to us are going through the same discernment right now. And so I think I would love if this could be a helpful document to other municipalities in Bucks. So I do see us putting both when data was collected, but also some disclaimers like this was legal guidance provided to Yardley Borough based on our CBA. Please check with your own solicitor. But if it helps out Morrisville and other municipalities, I only think that is a benefit to the work that we put in here.
Well, to that point, it seems important to make it clear that the timing of consideration relative to the timing of the CBA is important, so that those aren't sort of asynchronous.
And really having read and a close relationship with your officers so you can understand their appetite for saying no to anything or to being open to discussion, because it could be very different from one municipality to the next. If you have officers who are unhappy and who want to be employed by another municipality, that can really change things. And obviously, we don't need to think through all those possibilities in writing this, but yeah, I think that could be different in another municipality.
One thing I would love to have included here, again, for us down the road and sure, for any other municipalities, as I've mentioned many times, that it's difficult to compare what equivalent policing means. I would love, and we never got deep enough to actually know what those parameters are for outsourcing, but I would love to, I do have, that I've worked on, and I could easily put together just a list of what those parameters to investigate would be.
Investigate in terms, for
For
example.
comparison purposes. For example, response time, or number of traffic patrol hours, or number of, I have a list somewhere, but get the idea, just what.
Saying what Yardley boroughs are currently?
Well, I don't know that I actually have that data for Yardley Borough either.
Yeah.
It's more that when you look at different proposals and you look at your own policing, you need to know what are you getting with respect to what you already have.
Yeah.
So that's the part that I've mentioned here many times that I think is just important so that people are doing a clear comparison of that police force versus this police force versus more policing versus less policing.
So I think we could capture that in two places. So I think the first place would be in our Chapter 1, Current State of the Yardley Borough Police. I think we should have a terms section where we're defining what is a calls for service, what is a traffic stop, what is an other citation, so that I think that's a glossary of terms that our public would just find really useful when we're talking about police here. They don't know what we mean when we say all of these things, and if that could be in that report, that's going to be on our website. Awesome. And then once we define them and say what our annual volumes are, we can, I feel like it would potentially fit into the chapters that Dan is working on proposals we received. We could say, if, we didn't get to this point, but if we had, we would want to consider these things. Would that make sense to do it that way? I see what you're saying,
Just to have it be in there
if it's ever to
somewhere.
be picked up again.
Yeah, so you can start from, okay, what's the, what are the desired minimum levels of policing? And how do you, if you reach out to the municipality and you say, I want policing, it's kind of generic. Or if you say, I want this exact kind of policing. So we haven't gotten that deep, but just to list what they are, I do have, those listed. And also, it has come up here before in the past. It's not a big deal, but maybe because the confusion has happened, and it confused me when I first heard about it, because of the way we log our service calls, it looks like, if you don't look at it carefully, if you don't break it down, that we have more service calls than we have, because some of those service calls are actually proactive business checks, which is fine. As long as we break it out and make it clear, it's fine. But on the surface, so that's something that it would be useful to have in here somewhere recorded, so that,
Yeah,
In
in
the
the glossary.
yeah,
We define a calls for service as,
we can define those things any way we want, but people have to know when they compare it to other municipalities, Yardley has twice as many calls where the residents make calls. No, that's not true. It's actually just proactive calls that are being recorded. And so then we could have a category of comparison of what is the amount of business checks in alternate police force.
we do, I think you know this, for about, since shortly after Chief Golden started providing the reports to council, he has premise checks separate now.
Correct.
And so in the report, when we give our annual volumes, they'll be separate, but yeah, we could, in the glossary. I agree, defining would be helpful for the public.
My recollection is the definition in 2025 was also different than the definition in 2024
Here?
here. So, and glossary is a great idea.
Yep.
I'm just suggesting it may need more than one line, because for our own purposes, we were comparing year over year, but it wasn't apples to apples.
Yep.
Very
And
much-
that's another reason why we should say
our own.
when this is dated as of
Right.
2025.
Perhaps you can have a glossary A and B, because I very much like the idea of trying to articulate characteristics by which one can measure
Yes.
police services.
Right.
We're not giving the numbers.
Right.
We didn't actually do it even.
Right.
But you're at least saying, here, some of the characteristics we thought about that would help to define them.
So the glossary of terms would be to chapter 1, and the glossary of how we would measure if we had gotten further along, it would be part of one of Dan's chapters, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't define it as something that we completed or that we did. It's more like, initial thinking.
We tried to bake some of it into our questions, didn't we, Dan?
We did. On the state police side, it was quite clear that they were unable to provide those types of analysis. And then there was that study that we found where someone tried to quantify it, which was very difficult. But then on the questionnaire that we ended up doing, we certainly did bake in a lot of that stuff, but not to the detail that we probably would have gotten to had we pursued it, right? Because we just started talking about, all right, you're going to make us a zone. What does that mean? What does that look like? How are you going to patrol our area? How do you patrol your current areas? We'd have gotten some of those statistics if we had pursued that, I think.
And did you ever have a follow-up conversation with Upper Makefield? Or
No.
any of the other municipalities?
No, I was, I came to the last council meeting, and after that council meeting,
I'm retired.
yeah, I was like, there's really no point of.
Yeah.
What I will follow up just to
Close it.
terminate the
Yeah.
query just out of respect, but yeah, no, I did not.
Could we make a notation of things that we may still be interested in the future? Not that we're going to convene as a commission or a committee, but it would be good to put a note that it wasn't, the information wasn't complete that we needed.
Yeah, and anything that we didn't pursue completely, I think that, it was,
Exactly.
that we did not, we did not complete negotiations.
Then we
This
can
is
go,
not,
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
now we know what we don't have in this report, as well as
Right.
what we have in the report.
yeah,
Thank you.
I think that's fair. Okay, so I don't want to assume anything, but Rami, will you work on the financial analysis chapter?
We're not going to assume, Rami, but you volunteered.
Kim and I will get the final figures for chapter 1, the department stats. And then Dan took 5 and the new 6. And I can take the unionized labor, legal realities, or you'll work on the glossary.
Yeah.
And then,
List those items essentially.
yeah,
right?
as detailed as you can.
Yeah.
And then we need some fact checkers, grammar checkers.
I would certainly be happy to do that.
You're good at that too, Michelle, so perfect. And yeah, and if everybody could place their working drafts on the shared drive and mark them draft in some form.
Do you want all of us to be able to review the document and offer comments or edits, or do you not want to do that?
Yes, you absolutely, if you want to read the other documents and put comments on it, just don't make any changes. So make them comments like I would propose this, so we can discuss them together.
You want to give us a due date to motivate us to get it
Our
done?
next meeting, our next and final
Okay.
meeting, 1 month. Does that sound reasonable?
It does.
Okay. All right, anything else we want to talk about for the good of the order? I want to just say thank you to everyone. I know that this has been a little bit confusing, like what, of a process, and maybe council's decision might have been confusing to some, not to others. As I said in my email, some people thought it went on too long, some people thought it didn't go on long enough, but I am very grateful for the time that you put in and feel like I really stand by the information we're providing to this borough and to other municipalities. It is valuable information, so.
I think it's been a good process. I think there's been evolution all around, and I think we're stronger as a result.
Yeah.
I would love to find out if I still have access to that shared drive, because I think I was, as I'm clicking here, I'm not sure. I can see your document, but is there a way that I can?
Yes, I'll add your personal email now.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I saw the chapter 2. I'm not sure how I would see the other ones.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, so maybe
The parent link again.
the
I'll send
parent
the
link
parent
to
link
that,
again.
yeah, top folder.
All right. All right. If nothing else, we can adjourn.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for your leadership and organization.
Thank you.
It's been very helpful to keep us clear and organized.
Just gotta send my emails before the morning of so they can take 12 hours to get to where they need to go.
You send them through our website or something? Through the borough's website?